My name is Eleanor Mackey, and we are recording for an oral history project at Marshall Public Library. This is May 18th, 2006, and the recordings today are being done in conjunction with the program given about the Handy Writers Colony in Marshall. And I would ask you first to give us your name and address.
My name is Susan Turner Halt, and I live in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay. Susan, I have known you for a long time, and I'm so glad you're here to share with us today. First of all, what is your connection with the Handy Writers Colony?
Loney Turner Handy was my aunt. My father was Andy Turner, who was Aunt Loney's youngest brother.
And approximately what years was your connection with the colony? Would you have some idea?
I can remember being so little. I remember them building the colony. I remember them going out there and building the colony. In fact, my sister has pictures of us just in our underwear running around in the colony while they're building it. And also, I remember them putting the pool in and putting the concrete pool in out there. And
so about what year would that have been?
I think I was around. My first memories of it, I think, were around 5 years old, so that would have been around probably 50, 51, somewhere
So that
around
was
there.
really at the official beginning of the colony. Yeah. Do you have any special memories of James Jones?
We have very special memories. My sisters Terry and Sally and myself and my cousins Lauren and Judy were invited out to the colony. Well, my Aunt Loney was always glad to see us when we came to the colony, but Jim especially was good with us when we came to the colony. He was always taking time with us. He loved children, and they had a huge trampoline, which was very unusual at that time for someone to have their own trampoline, and Jim taught us trampoline lessons. So we were very good on the trampoline. Jim was he was a very good trampolinist himself, and so we knew all the front drops and back drops and seat drops, and we could do. And he did a wonderful. He had a trampoline trick that he did, which he did a backflip and did a twist in the air. I think it was called the Brainia or something, and that was the one thing he kept trying to teach us. But he had the other riders be spotters around the trampoline so that we were safe. And then he also had a special belt that he put on us when he was teaching us a new trick so that we wouldn't get hurt. But we all learned trampoline lessons. They did have the first swimming pool in Marshall, concrete. It was a concrete swimming pool that actually the writers helped build, and it had a diving board, and was a very professional diving board, one that you could make adjustments to what your weight was and the dive you were going to do, and because Jim was an excellent diver, and so he taught us diving lessons, all we girls, and then he also took the time, which is very unusual, I think, for an unmarried man that doesn't have children. And Jim was very into chess. He liked to play chess, and he taught us all how to play chess, and in fact gave us our first chess set that we grew up with. So we have wonderful, fond memories of Jim, and he was just always kind with us. He was always so happy to see us. He really did love children, and I think we're probably one of the few children that he was around because of Aunt Loney, and very strict on who went into the colony and who went out of the colony. And I think because my dad and Aunt Loney had such a good relationship, they just were really good friends and really just enjoyed each other's company. And in fact, my dad lived with my aunt while he was in high school, and he and Harry. And Harry loved children too. With them not having children, he was always happy to see us out there. And he's just a very generous man. And it was just a fun place to go. It was a happy place to go. And we just it was like going into another little world, because it was all woods and little cabins, and a big. They had built a big ramada right outside the pool that was all screened in, and that's where they all ate. It had a huge kitchen and a huge big fireplace, and that's where all the writers congregated, and they would cook a big meal, and we'd all get to sit around with them, and it was just it was really a kind of a fairyland type of place for a child, because we'd never been around anything like that and never seen anything like that. And I think the same way with when Jim built his dream house, it was something we children had never seen, any type of house like that. It was a huge, as you walked in, there was a huge great room, which you see in houses today, but you didn't see in the 50s. And it had one whole wall was this huge fireplace, and then he had a stereo system set up, but books everywhere, and we just thought it was, well, my sister thought he was a movie star, and this was a movie star's house. And but I can remember fun little things, though, that we children were, you're brought up in this strict Catholic family. My mom was a very devout Catholic, and when we walked into Jim's bathroom to see his bathroom, here was this etched glass of a naked woman, and we just tee-heed. We girls thought, oh my goodness, this is, we'd never seen anything like this. Mom wouldn't approve of this. And not only did he have a regular toilet, but he also had a bidet, which we children didn't even know what was, but we loved to flush it and see it was like a little fountain shooting up, and we thought that was really fun. Jim got a big kick out of us liking that. And then upstairs, which was so, people didn't have exercise rooms then, and he had this full exercise room that had like wooden bars all across one whole wall that he called his stretching bars. And then he had a boxing bag up there, because he was a good boxer too. And then at the other end of his exercise room was his bar, and we kids, he had this secret button that he showed us, that if we pushed that button, the wall would open up secretly, and there was a little hiding area back there. There was a little room back there, and we kids thought that was our special hiding area in Jim's house. And I think it was actually where he stored his liquor, but he let us believe that was our special place in his house. But he always made us feel welcome, and always was happy to see us. So we have really, really fond memories of Jim Jones, and we got to meet Gloria, and that was some of the people he wanted all of us kids to meet Gloria, because he was very much in love with her. And we got to meet all the other writers, and
Did you have a connection with the colony after Jim Jones had gone?
We did. Well, Aunt Loney still lived out there, so we went out there and saw her. She became quite ill, though, and but we did go out and see Aunt Loney out there, but it was never the same after Jim left.
Did Harry live there also? Did Loney build a house, or did she move into Jim's
Loney
house?
had a little house out there also. It wasn't near the, it was more of a it was a regular house, but it was a little green house with, I think it had white shutters, and it was just like a regular house with a bedroom and kitchen and everything. But it did have a big room that had just books there were always books everywhere in her house. And but that's, Harry lived there. In fact, my memory is that the original land was actually belonged to Harry's mother, and that's what the colony was built on, if I remember right. But we saw Mrs. Handy too. She was part of the family. So
that'd be Harry's mother.
Harry's mother.
Yeah.
And,
did she live nearby, or?
She still lived in Robinson, is my understanding, if I remember right. But they would bring her out to the colony, and but it was just it was a different place, because Loney kept it private. Not everyone was allowed to go to the colony. It was, she made her writers work, and not only did they work, but they worked on the colony. They worked keeping the grounds up, and they did physical work as well. As she was very strict about, we weren't allowed out there when it was writing time.
Yeah.
You know, this was when they had their break time is when, you know, she wanted us kids to come out. But
Now, did you have a close relationship with any of the other writers? Or?
Tom, I can't say his last name, Shamali, I think it is, really liked we kids also. And he moved to New York and wrote a book. And we also got to meet his wife when he got married. And that was, and Sonny Daly. We knew Sonny from growing up here. And of course, his
He was
sister
a
Barbara
Marshall
did. He
native.
was a Marshall native, and his sister Barbara was our preschool teacher when we were growing up. So, you know, the Dalys were friends of our family for years. So I remember Sonny Daly, but that's probably all the writers I really remember.
Do you remember Jim ever coming back to see Loney after he moved away? After he married and moved away?
You know, I don't remember that. But then, you know, you grow up and get busy in your own life, and, you know, then the colony's not such a unique, you know, you get in your own little activities and
Did your dad remain friends with Jim?
yes, they wrote letters and they talked on the phone, and my dad and Jim were always good friends. Dad understood how Loney was with Jim, but Dad and Jim would just go out and have a good time together, the two of them. So they always had a good relationship. So we did.
Can you think of any other stories about the colony or about James Jones that you would like to share?
I can't think of anything right now. I just want them to know that I hear these things about Loney being such a different person, and she was just a very creative person, and was in this little town that was a pretty conservative little town, and but I don't think she ever, you know, I think she just had goals, and for a woman to be independent in that time was so unusual.
Yes.
And to go ahead with something that she had a goal to do and did. And but she was just a very free spirit, very well, as you heard the black authors say, you know, she didn't care about what your race was, you know, if you really wanted to learn to write, she was willing to help teach you, and I think that was she was really unique for that. And I think the things people don't know about Jim, you hear about him being such a rebel and all of this, but he was a very kind and loving man, and he loved children, and I don't think people see that side of him, but he was very loving with we children.
That's great. Well, if there's nothing else you'd like to add, I really appreciate your coming in today and helping with our oral history project.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell me your name, please, and your address?
Charles Gam, Marshall, Illinois.
Okay, Charlie, I would like to know what your connection is with either James Jones or with the Handy Writers Colony.
Just as a teenager, we were like everyone else. We were warned to stay away from the writers' colony, but that just said sick 'em, and so with two of my buddies, well, we'd sneak in the back, and we thought that's fun to watch them having parties back there and swimming in the pool, and we watched them do that, quite a bit during the 50s, middle 50s, I guess it was, and then later on, about that same time period, we used to have the theater here in town. I'd go there, and Jimmy Jones would be like, I've become an Elvis fan later on, and with the entourage that Elvis had. This was the same thing Jimmy had, and they'd take up 2 rows of seats, and he'd send them back for popcorn, and I'm sure he's the one that bought. But they'd sit there and laugh at the adult things on the screen, and we were laughing at them, watching them more than the movie. And it was funny to see them. But Jimmy was in the, like some other people said, he seemed odd to the rest of us, but we were more in awe of him more than anything. And of course, being a lot older, and he hit the bars and all that, we weren't into that, but we would watch them as they went down the street. But later on, my house was built by the same fellow that built Jimmy's house, and I rode motorcycles with Johnny Snedeker, and he was the main contractor. And I heard many tales about the motorcycles that both the Jones and Snedeker family was involved in, and I got to relive that with them, and especially yes, Johnny Snedeker, he liked to ride through the creeks, and Jimmy Jones liked to do that too, but he was afraid to really put his bike through the middle of a creek like the other guys were doing, so he did real timid, and they tended to make fun of him, but didn't want to get too carried away with that either. But we had several associations that I wasn't involved. I got that secondhand. But at the same period, I was again in that, and I couldn't afford the stuff that I know that he had. But there was traveling gunmen come across the country, and they would stop at Jimmy's house, and he'd buy what he wanted to from them. And
So these were people that bought and sold
right,
firearms.
I'm talking about good stuff.
Yeah.
And, I remember going to a gun show one time, and there was a pair of Colt 45s with the holsters and all of them, and it wasn't too bad. Back then, the Colt single action was $125, and the whole set wasn't for about $200, but that was a lot of money back then. And that's along that same deal. We're sitting in a room that is the back part of, it used to be Kroger's in Marshall, Illinois, and it closed in 61, but in 57, when James Jones married Gloria, she shopped here, and because they were the ones that had money, and they bought quality items and all, and several times she had a pretty good sized order, and I'd carry her groceries out, put them in a car for her, and she tried to tip me $20 several times, and it just amazed her that I wouldn't take any money, but $20 was like $100 now. That was a lot of money, but I wouldn't take any money, and she couldn't get that. And we looked at her. We knew that she was just different. She was pretty, but just different in kind of different way than the local girls. I don't know any other tales to tell you.
Okay.
If that's do you any good or not.
Were you familiar, or did you know any of the other writers at the colony?
They probably came in, but I honestly I just didn't know them.
Yeah. Okay.
I did deliver groceries to the some of the families that were involved, in the Turner family especially.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That may not mean